Hello and welcome to my Roma Surrectum II campaign. Italy is now fully under my control and recovering from the onslaught of Hannibal, who was blazing a trail all over northern Italy. He ambushes one of your legions straight at turn 1 no matter what, next to Arretium, and then moves across the map. For me, he went to Arminium, where I was able to send Flaminius Nepos to help Aemilius Paulus. However, Paulus was delayed during the fight, and it was looking really dodgy. It seemed that Hannibal was going to win. Eventually though, Paulus arrived, and we were able to crush Hannibal just toward the end in a very close victory, defeating Carthage and sending them back to Africa. It was really a very exciting time in the campaign, and that's like turn 1, you know, they throw an invasion your way, and it's very, very interesting. I just thought I'd show off some of the map here and just show the scope of it and the detail for those who haven't seen it before. It's a conversion of Rome Total War, and it's made a good few years ago now, but it still holds up really well. I think it looks actually quite aesthetically pleasing. Over here toward Greece, I'm at war with Macedon, and now I'm making my way over toward them, so I can push them back into Greece as they try to attempt to take Dyrrhachium. You can see the diplomacy screen. I'm allies with the Greek states, enemies with Macedon, Carthage, the Free People, and rebels. The Roman rebels came about because Hannibal was moving his way throughout Italy. A lot of towns were just pledging their allegiance to him and giving him supplies. The only way I could stamp them out was by moving all the way up to the barbarian settlement of Genoa and removing Carthage from my northern borders altogether. That way it allowed me to focus solely on the Roman rebels who were attacking Roma, and then when they moved down to Capua, they made a last-ditch attempt to attack the town there, but their forces were divided and I was able to stamp out the rebellion once and for all. This is just part of the awesome narrative that the Roma Surrectum team created for you. They give you an historical situation and allow you to approach it however you want. Hannibal was a massive threat at the time, of course, and Roman rebellions would have occurred. Having towns suddenly swap to the other side is something I've never seen in a Total War game before, and I think it's a really clever idea that, you know, massive armies moving through your lands, towns would just pledge their allegiance to them. Of course, the building system has been reworked in Roma Surrectum II, and you can have a look at kind of building chains somewhere else, but government determination is one of the main ones. That allows you to decide what kind of government you're going to impose on the people where you've conquered. You can annex regions so that they're not actually part of the state, or incorporate them into Roman lands and give them citizenship. You also have regional focus, where you can determine if it's going to be an economic region or a fortified region, eventually working your way down to an economic and fortified if you have enough money to build up to that. There's supply of army rations, there's winemakers, gem makers, wine trade, all these different types of buildings that you can then kind of determine what you're going to build and branch out even further. Each one of these has like several levels below it, not just linearly. They go off in different directions, allow you to make choices further on as you go in. I would like to see some sort of building tree. I don't know if anyone's made one, because it's really hard to tell where you're going to go unless you're very familiar with it. But I'm going to attack this Macedonian army here near Chios. I'm trying to save Dyrrhachium from being attacked. I can't quite get them to reinforce just yet, unless I pull them out of the town, but I think we can do it just with this one army. So here we are loaded in. You can see we have the Polybian Roman cohort, some Triarii in the back, Tribune Militi, and Equites like have. Obviously the game doesn't look amazing and it runs fairly bad, to be honest. It's not like Medieval 2 for some reason, where Medieval 2 runs at like hundreds of frames per second. But Rome 1, I don't know why, but it's kind of stuck around 30 no matter what you do with it. But so far I've been really, really enjoying this campaign. I don't have the time to play it, unfortunately. But whenever I do jump into it, I get so immersed. Maybe it's partly nostalgia, but I really do think the gameplay is so solid in Roma Surrectum. It was great in Rome Total War anyway, but there's something about Roma Surrectum which is just the more authentic units. The AI seem to build full stacks more regularly, and the combat just lasts a little bit longer, allowing you to make more methodical tactical decisions. I recommend you should play it on hard, or very hard if you can, because the challenge is what makes it very almost realistic. You're always up against a challenge, always having to think what can you do tactically to beat the AI. Because obviously the AI isn't going to always make the smartest choices, but throwing up the difficulty a little bit means that you have to be a bit more clever in how you break units. So I highly recommend doing that. Now whenever I mention Roma Surrectum II to people, they always ask me if I've played EB2 or Europa Barbarorum 2. I actually hadn't played it until only a couple of months ago. When I grew up, or when I was like 14, 15, this is the mod that my friend showed me, and this is the one I kind of fell in love with as a result. I never heard of Europa Barbarorum until it won the Legacy Award in 2014 for Creative Assembly. Europa Barbarorum, to me, after playing it for only about 4 hours, is not nearly as good as Roma Surrectum II, for one fundamental reason. the combat, the unit spacing is just kind of broken. Whenever I play battles in it, whether I'm in a land battle or not, especially sieges though, it seems like the pathfinding just goes wrong. I've seen units break into groups of like 1 or 2 and run off totally wrong ways. That doesn't happen in this mod, and it doesn't happen in the base game. When I was streaming it on the official Total War channel, we were encountering all of these bugs, and I kept saying like, this bug isn't in Rome Total War, I would remember it. This is like a really severe bug. So it seems like Europa Barbarorum actually introduces a lot of problems. This might have just been on the Greek side of things though. For comparison's sake, I did try playing as Greece in Roma Surrectum, didn't come across any issues on walls or not. Even the barbarian settlement that I showed in the image was a really weird kind of custom settlement with lots of like high terrain and stuff. No problems of the AI navigating it or my own guys navigating it. So that's one of the main reasons I don't like EB2. Another one is I actually really like the music in Roma Surrectum. It's not amazing or anything, but it is pretty good atmosphere, I think. Obviously the original soundtrack is probably better, but if you're sick of that by now, this one's pretty good. Have a listen. So that's just one of the soundtracks that's in the game. There's like tons of different songs, obviously, to change per depending on what culture they're on. And by the way, I'm not like trying to shit on EB2. It's just from what I've played, for the 4 hours that I've played of it, it's just not very good in comparison to this. But maybe I just got a really unlucky 4 hours. Of course, you do come across bugs in Roma Surrectum frequently as well, but nothing gameplay breaking in my opinion anyway. Also in EB2, the buildings all revolve around just either happiness and income rather than anything else. Like, they don't really seem to affect taxes or sanitation or anything else like that. It seems to be every single building gives you a direct influence on your public order, like a law building gives you public order and stuff like that, and I just thought it was a weird decision. But here you can see in Roma Surrectum, once you start routing one unit, you get these chain routes, and it's really good. Obviously these guys are totally surrounded now, so it's pretty obvious, but you do get this on a larger scale as well, where you have a line. If you buckle one side, the whole thing might buckle. I think it's something to do with, from reading on the forums, that they have it so that if a unit next to another unit is starting to route, they've amplified the modifier on that quite a bit, so you get this like steady stream of like routing. So it's very important that if your unit is starting to waver or doing badly, you pull it out of combat, because if it starts routing, it'll make the guys around it rout. And that's just something I've noticed and really enjoyed about this mod. That's pretty much all, guys. This is basically my favorite mod. I might just be a big fanboy over it, but I really do think it's really good. There's only one way to play it though now, unfortunately. Because Rome and Medieval and certain other Total War games updated to support Windows 10, it broke a lot of the older mods, which is a shame. However, if you own the disc copy of Rome Total War, you can download this off ModDB and run it just fine. I'm playing on Windows 8.1. It runs, like I said, not great, but a solid 30 frames a second is pretty much fine. And it was easy to set up once you do that. There's obviously multiple factions you can play. You can play as many factions as you want. You know, all the kind of bigger, more popular ones. Anyway, I just chose Rome because that's how I remembered playing it. And yeah, so that's basically it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're going to try out this mod again, or why you might think Europa Barbarorum is better, because I'd like to know if I've missed out on anything. Alright guys, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you in the next one.